They came without warning. The Rilth Dominion, proud in their ancient war fleets, descended upon the human colony of Calderon. Calderon was not a fortress world. It was a garden. Oceans dotted with island cities, skies bright with civilian ships, and children learning beneath crystalline towers. A place of beauty, of peace. But to the Rilth, peace was weakness. Their high marshal, draped in silver-scaled armor, stood before his council and sneered. Humanity, he declared, grows soft in their greenhouses and universities. They spread like weeds, but weeds burn easily, and so Calderon burned. The Rilth warships rained plasma fire upon its seas. Orbiting habitats were gutted open, scattering screaming families into the void. Landing parties stormed the cities, slaughtering without hesitation. Thousands drowned as molten skies collapsed into tidal waves. Millions more were silenced in hours. When the slaughter was complete, the Rilth broadcast their victory across open channels. One message carried through the stars, deliberately aimed toward Earth's listening posts. Behold the fate of those who presume to plant flags where the Dominion treads. Let this be a lesson to your species. You are prey. You will remain prey. Then the signal cut, leaving only the hiss of static, and the smoldering silence of Calderon's grave. The feast of mockery the Rilth celebrated, from the orbiting citadels above their homeworld to the frontier command posts that dotted the galaxy. Feasts were held. The destruction of a human colony was not simply a victory. It was amusement, a show of dominance. Admirals boasted of their firepower. Captains recounted how their warships carved through human freighters like glass. Soldiers laughed about the way civilians screamed as the waters swallowed them. Earth will do nothing, one governor sneered over the comms, raising a chalice of crimson liquor. They wear the mask of warriors, but beneath it, they are diplomats, farmers, philosophers. They will sue for peace. They will beg, another commander laughed. Yes, they fear war as they fear the void. They may rattle their cages, but humanity lacks the will to strike us. Their words spread like wildfire through the Dominion's networks. Confidence turned to arrogance. Arrogance became certainty. The Dominion believed the humans were beaten before they even rose to resist, and in the silence that followed, they mistook the lack of response for fear. But it was not fear. It was patience. The stillness before the storm. For weeks, the galaxy waited. The Rilth boasted. Their allies whispered. Neutral species held their breath, and Earth said nothing. No diplomats arrived to sue for peace. No surrender was offered. No apology for daring to colonize Calderon IV. Instead, Earth was silent. In the shadows of Sol, deep within the armories of Luna and Mars, fleets stirred. Quiet orders spread through encrypted channels. Shipyards that had slept for decades roared to life. Colossal vessels, humanity's dreadnought line, the legacy of centuries of restraint, began to wake. The galaxy noticed the silence. And then the silence broke. A single broadcast, repeated across every channel, every relay, every system where the Rilth flag flew. You touched our children. You burned our seas. You mocked our dead. For this, you will drown in the wrath of Earth. The voice was calm, cold, final. And with those words, the storm began. The awakening of Earth's armies. The first sign was the disappearance of the 9th Rilth fleet. It had been stationed along the edge of the Meridian Expanse, secure in its fortress of orbitals and carrier groups. Reports said the humans had struck without warning. A fleet of black-hulled leviathans emerged from the void, silent as shadows, and obliterated the 9th in less than an hour. Survivors tried to describe it. They spoke of warships that blotted out the stars, of batteries firing in perfect, merciless rhythm, of missiles streaking like falling suns. They spoke of storms in space, shockwaves tearing through the void, hulls collapsing as if the universe itself turned against them. But most chilling was the silence of the human comms. No taunts, no speeches, just commands, cold and mechanical. Target acquired, fire, advance, eradicate. Then came the 11th Fleet's destruction, then the fall of Yaren Station, then the obliteration of the Dominion's frontier worlds. Everywhere the humans struck, they left devastation. Oceans boiled, skies split, armadas were swept aside like insects. The galaxy, once entertained by the Rilth's arrogance, now watched in horror. The humans were not suing for peace. They were not negotiating. They were answering. Storms that drowned armies. The Rilth gathered their strength. Desperate, they assembled their greatest fleet, 100 carriers, 200 dread cruisers, and thousands of escorts. Enough power, they believed, to shatter any enemy. They gathered near the nebula of Varan's Veil, confident the thick gases would mask them from sensors. They boasted that humanity would finally know terror when the Dominion struck back. And then the storm came. Human dreadnoughts emerged from the veil like titans. Their hulls glowed with energy, their weapons thrummed with the power of collapsing stars. And behind them surged endless ranks of warships, sleek and unrelenting, their drives blazing like a second dawn. The first salvo struck with the fury of hurricanes. Waves of kinetic bombardments smashed into the Rilth lines, tearing ships apart as if they were paper. Plasma lances followed, igniting the nebula itself, until space was aflame with storms of fire. The Rilth fought. They screamed. They hurled everything they had into the maelstrom. But Earth's wrath was a tide that could not be stopped. For every human ship that faltered, 3 more pressed forward. For every volley repelled, 10 more fell upon them. The battle was not a contest. It was an annihilation. Rilth fleets drowned in the storm. Their carriers vanished beneath relentless fire. Their dread cruisers cracked apart, spilling their crews into the burning void. Hours later, the Varan Nebula was silent, filled only with drifting wreckage, charred bodies, and the lingering glow of humanity's vengeance. The voice of retribution. The survivors of Varan's Veil. Scattered lifeboats, broken frigates limping through the dark, carried a single memory, the message broadcast across all frequencies after the slaughter. This was your warning, Calderon's. Children cry out from the deep. We have answered. The storms of Earth will not cease until the Dominion is ash. Those words spread faster than any fleet. Across the galaxy, species whispered them. Allies of the Rilth fled. Neutral empires severed ties. Even ancient powers shuddered. For they understood now. Humanity's silence had not been weakness. It had been restraint. And the storm they unleashed was not rage alone. It was justice, sharpened into vengeance. The collapse of the Dominion one by one. Dominion worlds fell. On Corallus Prime, the skies darkened with the silhouettes of human dropships. They fell like rain, endless, relentless. When the soldiers emerged, they moved with cold precision, breaking armies in days, toppling cities in hours. On Dorello 9, orbital bombardments shattered continents. Oceans surged into the craters, drowning entire nations in the rising tide. Survivors called it the day the seas rose. On the Dominion's throne world itself, where once the High Marshal had boasted of burning Calderon, the capital lay in ruin. Its palaces, its archives, its monuments, all reduced to rubble beneath the storms of war. And still Earth did not stop. They did not gloat. They did not negotiate. They pressed on, implacable as the tide, until the Dominion itself ceased to exist. Silence and dread. When it was over, there was no cheer from Earth, no parades, no broadcast of triumph. There was only silence. The human fleets, their vengeance complete, returned to the void. They did not linger among the ruins, nor claim the ashes as territory. They left behind only wreckage, and a message carved into the memory of every witness. Never provoke Earth again. The galaxy whispered in terror. Entire species recorded the fall of the Rilth as a warning for their children. Songs were hushed when humans entered the room. Eyes turned away and voices fell to whispers. For they had seen the truth. Humanity's patience is vast, their diplomacy deep, their restraint profound. But their vengeance? Their vengeance is infinite. Final whisper. And so the story spread, passed from fleet to fleet, world to world, until it became more than history. It became legend. They say when the stars burn too bright, when empires grow arrogant and cruel, they need only remember Calderon. They need only recall the silence that followed, and the storms that came after. For Earth's wrath is not swift. It does not shout, it waits, it builds, it gathers, and when it comes, entire fleets drown beneath it.